In the heart of the bustling city, a gleaming luxury car glided through the traffic, a bubble of wealth and privilege. Inside, a woman named Anjana, draped in success, stared out the window, lost in thought. Suddenly, a small, grimy hand tapped on the glass. A young boy, his eyes wide with hunger, stood on the street, begging for a piece of bread. His plea was a whisper against the city's roar, but for Anjana, it was a thunderclap that shattered her carefully constructed world. This little boy was her son, the child she had left behind years ago. Weak from days without a proper meal, the boy pressed his face against the cool glass, his voice trembling as he pleaded for just a scrap of food. Inside the car, Anjana's heart hammered against her ribs. She recognized him instantly, the curve of his nose, the shape of his eyes. Every maternal instinct screamed at her to throw open the door and hold him. But fear, cold and suffocating, paralyzed her. The fear of judgment, of her perfect life crumbling, of society's scornful whispers. She turned her head away, hiding her face as a silent tear traced a path down her cheek. The boy saw only the back of her head, a rejection as cold as the glass that separated them. Who was this woman, and why would she deny her own child? To understand, we must go back in time. Anjana wasn't born into wealth. She grew up in a small, impoverished village where tradition was law. As a teenager, she fell deeply in love, a love that was forbidden and reckless. When she found herself pregnant, her world collapsed. Her family, fearing shame and disgrace, disowned her, casting her out onto the streets. Alone, terrified, and with no way to care for a child, she made an impossible choice. One tear-soaked night, she wrapped her newborn son in the only clean cloth she had, laid him on the steps of a distant house, and walked away, a piece of her soul left behind with him. She promised herself she would get rich, powerful, and one day she would come back. While Anjana clawed her way up the social ladder, her son was growing up on the unforgiving streets. His life was a daily battle for survival. Hunger was a constant companion, loneliness his only blanket against the cold nights. He learned to navigate the city's cruel underbelly, finding scraps of food where he could, sleeping in doorways, and facing the world with a resilience forged in hardship. Yet, through all the pain and struggle, a tiny flame of hope flickered within him. He held onto a dream, a fantasy he would replay in his mind every night that one day his mother, a beautiful, kind woman, would return and wrap him in a loving embrace, telling him he was finally home. Years passed. The boy was no longer a small child, but a street-smart young man. One sweltering afternoon, as he moved between cars at a busy traffic signal, his eyes locked onto a woman in a luxurious sedan. It was her. He didn't know how, but he knew. A primal recognition shot through him. "Mother," he cried out, his voice cracking with years of unspoken longing. He ran towards the car, his heart soaring with the belief that his dream was finally coming true. But inside, Anjana panicked. Seeing him so grown, yet so clearly a product of the streets, filled her with a familiar, chilling fear. What would her driver think? The people in the cars around them? Her world of influence and respect felt fragile, ready to shatter. With a choked sob, she ordered the driver, "Go, now." The car sped away, leaving her son standing in the exhaust fumes, his outstretched hand closing on empty air, his heart breaking all over again. That day, something shifted inside the boy. The fragile hope he had clung to for so long finally extinguished, replaced by a cold, hard understanding. He had been abandoned not once, but twice. He realized then that being a mother wasn't just about giving birth. It was about presence, about sacrifice, about acceptance. It was about love, a love he had never been shown. With this painful clarity, he stopped waiting. He stopped dreaming of a savior and decided to save himself. He poured all his energy, all his street-honed intelligence and relentless spirit into building a life for himself, brick by painstaking brick. He vowed that he would never be hungry, helpless, or abandoned again. More years went by. At a grand charity gala, Anjana, now a celebrated philanthropist and a symbol of success, stood on stage as the chief guest. She spoke eloquently about compassion and giving back, her words earning thunderous applause. As the applause died down, a figure emerged from the crowd and walked calmly towards the stage. A handsome, well-dressed young man stepped into the spotlight. He looked directly at Anjana, his voice clear and steady, ringing through the silent auditorium. "My name is Rohan," he said, "and I am the child you abandoned on the street." A collective gasp swept through the hall. All eyes were on Anjana, whose face had turned ghostly white. The man on stage was her son. The successful, confident man before her was the boy she had left in the dirt. In that moment, the weight of her fame, her fortune, and her carefully crafted reputation meant nothing. All she could see was her son's eyes, not filled with hate, but with a quiet strength that exposed the poverty of her own soul. Overwhelmed by a tidal wave of guilt, regret, and a love she had suppressed for decades, Anjana broke down. She stumbled towards him, her composure dissolving into raw, guttural sobs. She threw her arms around him, clinging to him as if he were a lifeline. "You are my child." She wept into his shoulder, her voice thick with emotion. "You are my son, my greatest treasure." In that public embrace, the truth was laid bare. No amount of money, no level of social status can ever fill the void left by a lack of love. The bond between a mother and child is a force more powerful than wealth, more valuable than pride. True richness lies not in what we have, but in the love we are brave enough to give. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content that explores the deepest corners of the human experience. We'll see you in the next video.